I'd like to welcome everybody to Travel Country 44, and we have a good one, and we finna go elaborate on a lot of Egyptians study, and I have zero to speak upon a lot of this information about ancient Egypt and the gods that roam the plains. How's it going, man?
Hey, what's up?
All right, definitely do. I guess we can get this started, man, about ancient Egypt. What's your information, your input on some of these gods and goddess and the land of knowledge, the land of wisdom, the land of the Mott. Let's go.
Well, I just think that they were one of the civilizations that were ahead of our time. Um, you have like Atlantis, Lemuria, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel that Egypt was one of those civilizations that were, very knowledgeable, very technologically and spiritually advanced. Um, so, like a lot of people in within the occult, down the years have gone to Egypt. I mean, if you look at Christianity, Moses came out of Egypt. Jesus spent some time in Egypt. Um, in the occult, Crowley um, was obsessed with Egypt. Um, there were there was a Jewish rabbi who was crucial in um, getting Kabbalah, um, like working on that knowledge, that meditated in Egypt, studied in Egypt. So, you know, um, if that was important to people who were, important to us, whether we're in religion or the occult, like, I feel that Egypt requires deep study.
Yeah. Where did some of your knowledge take you? Far as like in your studies, far as like ancient land, because a lot of artifacts start to come up in America, and America is like a lot of hidden information, and a lot of this start to come out online saying America is the old ancient Egypt.
Well, I haven't studied up on where Egypt is supposed to be physically. I focus more on the spiritual things, and I see Egypt
Gotcha.
more of as a place of spiritual knowledge. Like that can
Hmm.
be anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Um, so with that said, these things that are happening, they're subjects of debate. Like where Egypt was. What's buried in the Grand Canyon and stuff like that. And while it's interesting, I just feel that people get caught up in those things and they don't work on the practice. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, to me, it's useless to like care about those things on this level.
Hmm. So on the spiritual side, where's some of your spiritual, like far as like you know, contact some of these ancient beings? Let me. What is this?
Well, I've had contact with all 10 of the main beings that are within the book that I'm reading, which is the Kemetic Tree of Life. But there are hundreds, of Egyptian gods, ones that are more ancient than the ones that are popular, and ones that are just, that faded off into obscurity. Um, so, I mean, like, I don't think I'll ever be done, knowing about the different Egyptian deities, because
Hmm.
they have, you know, they're similar to like having as many gods and deities as the Hindus.
Hmm. Some of the beings you work with, like Thoth, maybe. Some of the, the information that, you know, that he presented to you about the ancient Egypt. Did he display any like information towards like the ancient land or any spiritual, you know, astral travel advice or whatever?
Oh yeah, Thoth was like the first deity I ever worked with on like a
Hmm.
regular basis. You know, Thoth is all about knowledge and learning. So like he's good for somebody who's an initiate, because working with Thoth like had me hitting the books, obsessed with reading and learning about different things. And with Thoth, like I could be looking for something, not be able to find it, go to him for help, and then all of a sudden it'll be right in front of my face in the same book that I've been looking through for hours.
Hmm. Other than Thoth, any other beings that you work with? Egypt.
Oh yeah. Um Anubis, Osiris, Set, Isis, Geb, um, Ra,
Uh, all these
Tefnut.
So all these different beings that you work with, is is dealing with like different spiritual advice, right? As far as like, what you're seeking, right? The knowledge part, the wisdom, the enlightenment. So after you work with certain beings, what does that does for you, like your body and stuff?
I
Does it take
mean,
a toll?
each god, depending upon the way that you learn, can be an aspect of the universe,
Hmm.
but they can also be aspects of yourself. So, pertaining to yourself, like you might learn a lot of things about yourself. You know, if you work with those gods as an archetype.
Gotcha. So as far as like the land and stuff like that, what the spiritual advice that you get from these Egyptian gods?
Um, I get a lot where there's a theme, of like unity. Um, like when I'm studying the Kemetic tree of life, it's talking about how when they established which gods belonged to certain towns, and had temples, they really believed that it didn't matter what god you worship, because they were all just parts of the creator god anyway. So all of them
Wow.
could lead you to the creator or the all or whatever you want to call it. So, there's that theme of unity and community. There's also a theme of love, because, like, when you study about Ra, when he goes to the underworld, everybody's concerned with protecting him. But he's like, I gotta make the life of the people in the underworld better,
Mhm.
So, like, there'll be that theme of responsibility to those who, claim royalty, those who have knowledge and power in order to make things better.
Who was like your biggest influence in Egypt? The one that actually bestowed on you, like far as like the information, somebody that constantly coming and check on you, constantly, what I'm saying, giving you that good old input of Egypt information and stuff like that.
I mean, they all have different things to teach, but in the end, the way it teaches things, it's just like they're all different faces of the creator. That's it. That's all. So
Yeah.
it's just like it doesn't matter what face, you know, comes to me and how much it comes to me. It's all
Hmm.
going to be from the creator.
So what movie you think got the closest information closest to like Egypt? You know what I'm saying? What movie do you think that's a title out there that's very close to like, the gods? Because I've been seeing a lot of white Egyptian figurine people claiming to be Osiris and stuff like that. So
I would say Stargate,
Stargate.
the original movie.
Okay, yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, yeah, I remember that. With the ship was in the sand, they had went through that portal. Uh, I think it was I don't forgot that guy's name, but he been in a lot of movies and stuff like Big Trouble in Little China and stuff like that. That I think his name played Kirk or whatever. He was in that movie as well. The guy that had the guards was all Anubis, like had this mask on, had the Anubis, like what I'm saying. And they had these old, what I'm saying, like these weapons, futuristic weapons and stuff like that. But the main evil character in the movie was some guy or some girl, I don't know, talk all deep, you know what I mean? But it was a good movie, man. Definitely was a good movie. Definitely was a good movie. It was a good movie. So, you know what I mean? Like, as far as like that title, that's a very good movie. But The Gods of Egypt, I saw that movie, but it had a lot of white characters in that movie. And a lot of these um, these burial dig ups that we getting around, United States and other places was stating that these was like DNA of a melanated person that actually was buried in that ground. There was no Caucasian at the time. You know what I mean? Okay, can you elaborate on the Sphinx too? Have you had any contact with the Sphinx? Have
No.
you ever even tried? Yeah, okay. I've been seeing some information about the Sphinx that he's good on wisdom as well, elevation and stuff like that. But um, this one guy in particular, it was a cult actually summoned and got in contact with the Sphinx, and he said it's like his power um, was real, like hard, like energetic, like what I mean. A true guardian that it was. It was like a guardian of like the kings of kings or something like that. So yes, that is true. Definitely, man. Uh, have you had any contact with ISIS, maybe, or
Oh yeah,
Horus, maybe?
yeah. ISIS, I've had contact with. Um, like you can meet her in the underworld. She is the goddess that represents magic and wisdom.
Hmm.
Um, and I believe that she has different faces too, depending upon what culture you get your pantheon from.
Hmm. What about Ptah?
I haven't worked with Ptah.
Gotcha. And the Bassett, you worked with Bassett before? The cat.
Yeah, and she's just like a cat where like sometimes she gets curious. She'll
Hmm.
come through. She may
Yeah,
rub up against you, and then she's out.
I heard it was you know, uh, a civilization where she come from is cat-like people. A dimension where it's ruled by animal-like people. Um, from what I heard, but her qualities when she come to the physical world, she alternates into a cat. Um, but it's a lot of mysteries and you know and so on. But to work with her to be a big blessing to work with her. That's sad. Bassett. Anything she gave you, maybe downloads or information or something like that?
No, because I haven't worked with Bass. You know, she
Okay,
just comes out
she
of
comes and goes,
curiosity and then she goes. But
checking on you, checking on you.
she is good for protection in the underworld. You know, there are a lot of divine entities when you go into the underworld that take the shape of a snake.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and some are protective, some are harmful. And so, like cats hunt snakes.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, anybody who has the, you know, courage to venture in the underworld, you know, like she makes a very good goddess to help with protection.
What about Osiris?
Osiris? Osiris, the way I look at Osiris, Osiris is just
Mm-hmm.
um, a phase of Ra, and he's a
Mm.
phase that is equated to yourself. So Osiris is that magician that needs to die to this world spiritually
Wow,
and be reborn
wow,
again.
wow.
So
Uh,
I've contacted Osiris once and he told me that like I was dead and like he was like screaming like he's real intense. Like they say that Osiris isn't supposed to like move a lot and stuff because he's
mm-hmm.
mummified, but I mean
Mm-hmm.
like if he's down in the underworld and he's resurrected, like yeah, he can move. He can yell at you too.
Like somebody across the street, hey, you dead?
He's like, "You're dead. You're dead to the world." I'm like, "Okay, I get it." Like
So, I mean, when you in the underworld, do you could actually smell and taste too as well?
sometimes,
I mean,
not
you could
always.
smell. Oh, okay. Because
Yeah,
I
like
just wonder. I'm just wondering how would somebody, present it. If you was talking to somebody and you know, like somebody that actually was talking, like, they, they could be old. They have a smell to them. Is it clean? You know what I mean? Like a gentleman, like a gentleman walk in the room, you can smell him. You know what I mean?
I've only had moments where I was someplace else and I caught a whiff of something. You know, it's not like I smelled everything or like through the whole vision. You know, it'll be
Okay.
like a split second. I may smell like roses and be like, "Oh hell, like where are the roses at?" You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the vision is just like a vision. You know, it's like experiencing it without the senses except for sight.
Mm-hmm. So this dude, I remember, and he was from the occult society, occultist prince. He said he actually smoked with like one of the Egyptian gods. Like they was actually smoking a strong strain.
It's possible. I mean, like there's
Wow.
drugs in other worlds and stuff like that. Like there's parties that go on. You know, like
Yeah.
the
So
gods eat, they drink.
does that does that have the effect on you if you to smoke with somebody or eat that food from that previous world? You will be a part of that world, like you was telling me on the Lucifer video. Would that does that happen? Will your free will be stowed on that world?
I mean, yeah, eating some from there would change your frequency. So on some level, it would affect you.
Wow. So what
And
about Amit? Yeah,
like I
go ahead.
said before, I think that eating food from a certain dimension actually anchors you there.
Anchors you.
So you want to be
Yeah,
careful
that's
where you are when you eat.
what I was thinking too. Like if you were to partake in any like food or I don't know any type of activity with that would kind of like anchor you and create some kind of vibration between you and that dimension.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
yeah.
why they say don't eat anything in hell.
Uh, Far as like I'm in Raw. Raw's like the head big dog. Um, any like spiritual like bump ins like you had with him in the in the astral.
Yeah, I met him once. I was climbing a tree, and I guess like I was high up enough for like him to contact me or something, because like there were still like two gods that I had left to like work with before making an attempt to go to Ra. And when you connect with him, it's like there's energy going all over the place. It's going and coming at all times. Like it's bombarding you. You're radiating, excuse me, you're radiating energy. Like energy's going into you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Ra told me, like, he said, even if I do nothing, everything will get done. And
Mm-hmm.
then he took the shape of a human being, and this was kind of like in first person, and it's just like you can feel the connections between everything, but it's muted. It's not like having energy bombard you all over, and then you're feeling overwhelmed and just not caring. Um, and so, like, during that vision, he said, if I were to take an avatar and do everything with the avatar, nothing would get done.
Mm. So, have you ever had a run in with Tarak? I think it was Tarek, something like that. I'm gonna just say the god, the Egyptian god. Matter of fact, let me put it up. Uh,
I don't know who that is.
let me bring it up on my screen real quick so you have a idea. Okay. I'm bringing it up on my screen so you'll see it. Um, I'll go right here. There you go, right here. Uh, right there, the second column right here. Right here.
Oh, TRAVAL, right? The
Yeah,
hippo, the hippo
yeah. They
goddess.
said they say they call her Big Mama too as well. But have you had any like run-ins with her? From what I heard, the she carries a meat cleaver. That's the same symbol that the Masons use in the temple as well. Um, this same symbol is in the like the blue lodge and the red lodge as well. I seen the same symbol. But when you see this symbol, it look different, but it's the same exact symbol. Um, in that in that temple. Um, I mean, so you have never had no run-ins with her, right?
No, I haven't, but I do believe that she functions in the underworld, so I
Very
may
protect.
go visit her soon.
She's very protective of the children. Like she's very protective over the children. Um, from what I heard, she's more like angry as well. With the how the children being treated as well. Up here as well. It's another high priestess actually channeling her as well. Go by Rod the God. He channels her on a daily. He get spiritual downloads as well. Uh, everybody have different spiritual different beings coming to them. That's why I don't understand why people don't get the same exact being at time. But is it because it's dealing with the bloodline, or is it because of like we're different beings that are made differently from each other?
But I just think that each person has their own path. So if somebody's studying Egypt, like Egypt is a big place. Like there's a lot
Yeah.
of the gods. So like some people may be drawn to certain gods because of like certain aspects they have, and another person who's studying Egypt wouldn't be drawn to those aspects because maybe they have other aspects that they favor, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of times, different spirits come to you to teach you certain things, and there are certain spirits that you would react to in a positive way, and there are certain spirits that you would react to in a negative way. So, you know, that also makes a difference in who you see when it comes to spirits.
Hmm.
We all have our own algorithm, so to speak.
Hmm. Could you elaborate on like some of the astral travel that you had in Egypt, in the underworld?
Uh, well, I ended up getting this encyclopedia on different, deities, especially lesser known deities
Hmm.
that were in Egypt. And so when you travel through the underworld, there's a lot of deities that will eat you or behead you if they see you as unrighteous. So I've been preparing through purification rituals, and techniques. And there's this specific god that used to work with Thoth in a purification technique, and his name is Dunanwi.
Mm.
Now, Dunanwi, like you don't hear about that god at all. And when I came in contact with him, like in the world that was created in order to symbolically represent our interaction, this guy was living in a boarded up tower, you know,
Mm.
and he was like, "Yeah, this is my place," and it was full with other homeless, I guess, gods that had been forgotten.
Did he showed you around, like far as like his home, and you know maybe he have a family or whatnot?
Well, I guess those people are his family. He tore a
Mm.
board off one of the windows and went in, and so I
Mm.
followed him, and like there were multiple levels, and each level had like a different kind of atmosphere. And at the top, it was like in this apartment building, everything looked like the inside of a freezer frosted over. And there was this black dude who looked like a stereotypical homeless person. Like he was in this green trench coat and had dreads that went like down to his legs and they were covering over his face and stuff like that. And it
Wow.
was funny because like the only thing I could really remember thinking about is like, bro, why are you here? Like black people don't belong in the cold. And
Oh man. So did you get a chance to walk around like the city, the streets, the sky? How was like the air, and what I mean, like what you seen? Did it look
no,
sandy red or whatever?
no, I haven't seen it to that degree. I've mostly been just interacting with the different energies of the different gods, and the way I've been interacting with is that you have the Kemetic tree, which is composed of 10 gods. So five of the gods represent like the physical body, and then the five upper gods represent like spiritual aspects. So I'm not necessarily focusing on what Egypt may look like. I'm focusing on
The
like different levels of myself, to be honest.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Um,
Um,
so like all those interactions, if they formed anything that looked like what we have on Earth, whether it's a town or a city or something like that. Uh, in most cases, I think that would be more a representation of my body, you know, um, and that's all I've seen is like buildings at most.
Buildings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it was funny because I was working with Thoth, and I was asking Thoth for me to help me maintain Ma'at, and Ma'at is basically just balance. She's a goddess herself, but she represents balance.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And so, like, he was showing me the inside, like how it looked like. Okay, he was using Star Wars, so there was the Sith, and the Sith represented my dark side, so to speak. And then you had a bounty hunter, but the bounty hunter had like light side powers. And
Hmm.
it was like on some Tom and Jerry stuff where they would both attack each other to keep each other like on each other's toes.
Hmm.
And neither one could get the best of the other because the Sith was like way too powerful, with
Hmm.
raw power.
Yeah.
But she couldn't kill the bounty hunter because the bounty hunter was just too smart to die. You know what I'm saying?
So if it was a regular magician, didn't prepare himself with purification, going to like the underground world, does that make him marked for death down there?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
But I'm just, like if that is a place of judgment, like I want to be as clean and spotless as possible. If I'm going
Yeah.
to be walking around, looking for different entities and talking to them and stuff like that.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Did you study the Egyptian Book of the Dead?
I own a copy, but I want to buy another book that is, I guess, kind of like a companion book to it
Hmm.
because there are a lot of versions of the Book of the Dead out there, and sometimes the translations aren't really that good. So even though I have the version of the Book of the Dead, I really want to buy like the companion to it so that it will help me like comprehend what is being said and what a possible translation that we can understand today um,
Hmm.
would be.
So the Book of the Dead does explain like the afterlife, as far as like what happens to the body before the judgment, and the ascension of the spiritual spirit that within you. Um, because I've been seeing like the monks was like preparing the body, then they go through the chant, prepping the body up, and they put the two coins over his eyes, and they purify the body again for like 10 more days, and they have to do so many like they have to redirect that person on the other side through the chants and the meditation. So they meditate around his body, and they guiding this person through like these different pathways and the maze of Egypt, and before they get to the different parts of like the balance, the scale, and putting the heart on the scale that weights your the negative life that you had or whatever. The hearts that judge, the judging on the scale between that with the feather.
Mm.
Um, um, as far as like you know, the Book of the Dead, and you know, did you partake in like the Emerald Tablets? Because I heard there's more books to the Emerald Tablet than what it is.
I think at one time I may have attempted to read the Emerald Tablets, but I don't remember anything from it
Mm-hmm.
because I wasn't like focused on Egyptian stuff.
Yeah.
It seems
Yeah.
like, sometimes I've come upon things within my career that I
Mm-hmm.
just wasn't focused on. and then later on I'll go back to it and be like, oh yeah, like I remember actually reading this.
Mm-hmm.
So my exposure to the Emerald tablets came before I decided to actually focus on Egypt.
Mm. So how long does it take you to get in meditation state to go astral? You project your thoughts somewhere, your spirit.
Uh, excuse me. Um, it just depends because
Mm-hmm.
you got to make sure you're in the right mood, and
Mm-hmm.
like it may take more time on one day than others to like clear your head
Mm-hmm.
and just focus, and you've got to be
Mm-hmm.
relaxed, stuff like that. So I mean, the time just depends, and really, if you're if you're meditating, like you're not really measuring time, because like once you get to that point, like time and space stop really mattering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As far like what I'm saying, you visit the lands and the different beings that you had walked with and stuff like that. Have they ever said that? Do you take notes as far as like your initial projection, like you coming out of trance? Do you write your notes down before you can you know you can understand what happened? Because I gotta like when I dream, I love to write my notes down. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think it's just a habit. Or I go and jot it down, put it in a phone, and I always go back to it later. And sometimes it always come back to me like what it is. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, like I keep a journal, and sometimes like I'll write in my phone if like I don't have a pen near me or something like that. So if I and it's funny because like some details will stand out more than others, but like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes like you'll be able to describe every single thing because it'll be so crystal clear in your mind.
Mm-hmm. So what's the wildest thing that ever happened to you down there before your first arrival? And
I mean, you mean like going to the astral?
yeah, like far as like you like contacting. Like, what's the wildest like initial thing that ever happened to you down there? Have they asked you who you were, or like they treated you like family, or they read your aura?
I mean, when you're in the other worlds, like people don't have names. Like they just connect with your energy, and it's like you know them, they know you, and it's like it's been like that forever. Um,
I
but
know world
crazy
trapping around
stuff.
fast.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've been in places where they just have like crazy looking things that look like monsters, but they're really not monsters.
Mm-hmm.
I've been invited to different parties, where they actually they really do drugs, and like they
Oh, you did
they,
you went
they
to
have
like
orgies.
Egyptian parties? You went to some of the Egyptian party yet? Egypt parties?
Well, I
Down
mean,
there?
like I'm talking about spirits in general. Like a lot of
Okay,
them were
gotcha.
like
Yeah.
Persian and stuff like that. Because like if you study Egyptian lore, like that was very close. So like they're very closely like related. So but even though I was dealing with some Persian spirits, like
Mm-hmm.
everything looked contemporary. Where there was like a black light on, and there was a DJ that had scratch pads and everything. It wasn't. If it was Egypt, and once again, this was just inside a building, like it would be, I guess, a contemporary place in Egypt.
Mm-hmm. Uh, so the being that you had conjure up was like the baddest, most fierce being in Egypt. the one that was like Mr. Badass, that everybody was like afraid of, like this the one you don't want to just F with, you know what I mean? Like that one right there.
Um, I guess like that the one that they compare to Satan a lot, like mainstream, would be Set. Set, you know. He's also the one who is said to have killed Osiris. But um, even though Set is rough around the edges, like he's not evil. I think he represents ambition, and ambition can go too far at times. Um, and it's like blind ambition. But he's also known as like the greatest fighter amongst the gods, and he's also known as a protector of Ra, while Ra is
Hmm.
on his boat in the underworld. So, like, he's not evil. It's just that we need to understand where he's coming from. And it was like even he understood at a certain point where his place was, because like when he had beef with Horus and he lost, but the gods were still like, all right, we want you to have a godly position. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like you're not going to be king, but you're going to have this, you're going to rule over this district. He was like, okay, you know.
Hmm.
Um, so he still has, he has something to offer, and I believe like you're not really going to get anything from him until you learn like his place. And when you compare it to like the psyche, Set represents the ego. So like if we let ourselves be controlled by our ego, of course it's going to go wild. But you know, unlike what they say in like new age stuff, we don't want to kill our ego. Our ego still helps us out, even if we have it under control.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know it's a lot of like different like a lot of information out there as far as like, what I'm saying, you gotta partake in to understand like the Egyptian part and the mainstream, the characters and what I'm saying, understanding the mysteries and the artifacts and what I'm saying, the history about it and stuff like that because it goes a long way, man. You know what I mean? It goes a long way. So definitely, man. I definitely want to read up on a lot of this information as well because you can't get too um you know thin on knowledge. You know what I mean? As far as like the knowledge, you have to really like look into it because everything has so much knowledge out there, man. There's so many books, like what I mean, because I can imagine how many books that got lost with different beings, like what I mean, they didn't want to tell a story about.
Mm,
And by you visiting there, you could actually probably like write books about them and let everybody know about that person. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure they wouldn't mind. You actually putting a book out about them. You know what I mean? Take the time out to actually just sit down with that person, knowing that person from um, who they are. You know what I'm saying? His history, the family, what his favorite food, and you know what I mean. A lot of things. What is his history in Egypt? What did he do? You know what I mean? Was he a conqueror? Was he a traitor? Was he a liar? You know what I mean? It's so much information like that person have on his life, and he probably just changed it over, balanced it out, and became a god. You know what I mean? But
right.
just like what we going through right now. I mean, a lot of us is actually going through this program to become a god. But it's up to us to understand our perseverance about our own self, uh, the ideology behind it, the what I'm saying, the mechanism, you know what I mean? Because we got so much information that is like locked away about the truth about us, you know what I mean? It's so much like, what I'm saying, hidden information about us. Like we have alien DNA. We have so many DNAs that's connected to Egypt, you know what I mean? So many DNAs connected to different beings across the whole board. So I just call us a multi being. We just a multi being that has multiple positions in this universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what the Egyptian lore teaches as well. Like we are multidimensional, and even the way that we approach the gods like is multidimensional. Where we have one
Mm-hmm.
archetype that applies to us,
Mm-hmm.
but then they can be separate beings altogether, or they can be represent like celestial spheres.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you ever have you made any encounters with Shu? I mean, Shu, the one of the Egyptian pantheon god.
I believe that's the um, god that represents air and is
Yeah.
the husband to Tefnut,
Mm-hmm.
which represents the primal waters.
Mm-hmm.
But no, when I feel like somehow if they came to me, they were so subtle that I didn't really recognize who they were, because you have to go through those on the comedic tree of life. Like you have to work with those gods before you get to Ra.
Mm-hmm.
But I've already dealt with Ra, so they're supposed to be the ones that kind of help you get to Ra. So I don't know if at one time I got their
So
attention and just didn't know.
so it's basically when you work your way up, you're making you're making a spot on his boat.
There are a couple of things that you can do. Um, you can be with Ra. You can be one with Ra. Um, the book says that you can become an angel, or you can chill with Osiris in the underworld.
Mm. Man, it's so much, man. It's so much. It's almost like they giving you a choice, like because we so multi beings. So even if we choose to be a angel, we can actually leave that and go somewhere and go back to the underworld, whatever. You know what I mean? We don't have to be an angel that long, right?
Well, I don't
That
know
give
how
us,
I don't know how it is once you're an angel. I'm just saying
yeah.
that like if
Hmm.
you're an initiate,
Oh,
it's like having a career path. Like which way
you
are
can't,
you
you
headed?
can't. Okay, so you can never leave what you in started. Um,
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if you can change. Like if you can be. I know that there are certain quote unquote demons that get upgraded to godhood
hmm
in the underworld. If
hmm
you've done your job well enough, they promote you.
hmm I know. How about some of the women? Does they look like real beautiful, exotic to you when you if you ever seen like maybe Cleopatra? You ever ran into like what I mean, that kind of vibe?
I mean, both Isis and Nephestus,
Hmm.
um, they're they're attractive. It's just like they're attractive black women from what I've seen, from how they manifest. You know, because to be honest, like not all of them manifest as dark skinned.
Gotcha, man. Yeah, definitely, bro. I mean, anything else you want to share before we like, you know what I'm saying? You know, anything else you want to share, like any knowledge that you have acquired in your presence, or any, you know, and like wisdom and downloads that you had got between now and then.
I mean, just that with Egyptian, the way of their thinking,
Hmm.
each god or goddess had their duality. There were no demons there. that's a Western way of thinking. Um, and man, and just Hermeticism. Hermeticism is like very well known, and that's based off of like Hermes, who is supposed to be like Thoth, like another form of Thoth.
Yeah.
So anybody who's interested in Egypt, like Hermeticism, is also interesting to get into. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's some other stuff that I'm studying that's out of Egypt. So like Gnosticism comes out of Egypt. I just got finished reading this book that is the Essene Gospel of Peace, and the Essenes are said to like originate in Egypt. So there's like a lot of stuff that has roots within Egypt,
Yeah.
especially old time Christianity, or like even groups that predated Christianity.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, man. Definitely want to keep you up, man. I thank you for even coming on here, sharing everything, the information that is presented before the public, the Egyptian culture, the history, the spiritual side, what you have gained from with your knowledge and your experience, your expertise and stuff. Like you have a journal, so I know you got plenty more stories about a lot of different things and stuff like that. As far as like the outworlds and stuff like that. But I definitely want hear about it. You know what I mean? Definitely want to hear about it.
Well, I'm definitely studying more into Egypt and delving more into these more unknown gods. I
Hmm.
feel that they're probably going to be interesting, and they're probably going to have a lot to say since they
Hmm.
haven't had anybody's attention on them in quite some time.
Yeah, you're gonna pretty much resurrect them. You're
Hell
gonna
yeah.
gain a lot from that, bro. You got a part of their throne right there. They giving you shares, public shares. Um, Definitely, bro. Thank you for coming on, bro. What I mean, dropping that knowledge.
I mean, thanks for having me. It's always
All
fun.
right, bro. Man, I appreciate that. This is Z Energy God. I got Zero, and we definitely gonna keep dropping these spiritual videos for you and nothing but the knowledge and wisdom. Yo, teach one, reach one, love, peace, happiness. Thank you, family.